In the summer of 2025, a shocking case out of Florence County, South Carolina, would stun both the local community and the nation. What began as a teenage love triangle spiraled into violence, betrayal, and tragedy. And in the end, 9 teenagers found themselves in handcuffs, facing murder charges. At the center of it all was a 16-year-old boy named Trey Dean Wright, whose young life was cut short in a plot that law enforcement described as senseless, cruel, and avoidable. This is the story of how a group of teens, fueled by jealousy, misguided loyalty, and a need for attention, orchestrated one of the most disturbing crimes in recent memory. Trey Wright was a typical teenager from Johnsonville, a small community about 50 miles northwest of Myrtle Beach. Friends and family described him as kind, outgoing, and full of potential. Like many boys his age, he was navigating the ups and downs of young love, and at the time of his death, he was dating a 17-year-old girl named Gianna Helene Kistenmacher. On the surface, Trey and Gianna's relationship might have seemed like any other high school romance. But lurking in the background was another young man, 19-year-old Devin Scott Raper. He and Gianna had a history, and authorities say that history created a dangerous and volatile dynamic, one that would ultimately prove deadly. On the evening of June 24, 2025, Trey was lured out to a rural stretch of First Neck Road. According to investigators, Gianna Kistenmacher played a crucial role in setting up the meeting. Authorities allege that she convinced Trey to come to the location while knowing full well that Devin Raper was lying in wait. What Trey didn't realize was that this wasn't an innocent meeting. It was a trap. When Trey arrived, events unfolded quickly. Witnesses later reported that Raper confronted him, armed and ready. Gunfire broke out, and Trey was fatally shot. What makes this case even more disturbing is that, according to police, some of the teens present actually recorded the incident on video as Trey lay dying. That footage would later become a key piece of evidence for investigators and a haunting reminder of the cruelty behind the attack. By the next day, June 25th, law enforcement had already identified their prime suspect. Devin Scott Raper was arrested and charged with murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. He was denied bond and remains in custody. Authorities say it was clear from the beginning that he pulled the trigger, but what became equally clear as the investigation widened was that he wasn't the only one responsible. South Carolina operates under a legal doctrine often referred to as the hand of one is the hand of all. In simple terms, this means that if multiple people act together to commit a crime, then all participants can be held equally responsible for the outcome, even if they didn't personally pull the trigger. And that doctrine would soon sweep up a wide circle of teenagers, all connected to the plot that ended Trey's life. On June 30th, Gianna Kistenmacher was arrested. Prosecutors charged her as an accessory before the fact, alleging that she knowingly lured Trey to his death. She was later released on bond under home confinement, but her involvement shocked many. Trey's girlfriend, the person he trusted most, had, according to police, helped set the deadly plan in motion. But the arrests didn't stop there. In early August, 3 more teenagers were taken into custody. 18-year-old Hunter Matthew Kendall, 18-year-old Corrine Elizabeth Belviso, and 17-year-old Sydney Marissa Kearns were all charged with murder. According to investigators, these teens were either present during the shooting or directly aided in planning the ambush. Soon after, 4 more minors, whose names were not released because of their age, were arrested as well. In total, 9 teens now face serious charges tied to Trey Wright's death, and authorities indicated that a 10th suspect, another teenager, was expected to surrender. The sheer number of young people involved stunned the public. Sheriff T.J. Joy, who oversaw the investigation, expressed heartbreak at the senselessness of it all. "The sad thing is," he said, "you've got a 16-year-old that lost his life. You've got a 19-year-old who is going to be in jail the rest of his life. Over what?" That simple question, over what, has echoed across South Carolina and beyond as people try to make sense of the tragedy. According to reports, jealousy and rivalry were at the heart of the crime. Raper, older than most of the others, was said to still be fixated on Gianna. When she started dating Trey, tensions flared. For reasons still not entirely clear, several other teenagers became involved, some out of loyalty, some perhaps caught up in the drama, and others maybe not fully grasping the deadly consequences of what was unfolding. What is certain, however, is that they all now face charges that could alter their lives forever. The legal proceedings in this case will likely be lengthy and complicated. Some of the teens, being minors, may face juvenile proceedings, while others, like Raper and Kendall, are old enough to face adult penalties. Under South Carolina law, a conviction for murder can carry a sentence of 30 years to life in prison. Prosecutors will also need to prove each individual's role in the conspiracy, which may involve examining text messages, call records, and the disturbing video evidence from the night of the shooting. Beyond the courtroom, the case has raised difficult questions about teenage behavior in the digital age. Why did no one step in to stop the violence? Why did some choose to film instead of help? What role did social media, peer pressure, and the glorification of conflict play in escalating this deadly situation? Experts say that this case is a stark reminder of how quickly teenage drama can spiral out of control when fueled by jealousy, poor judgment, and access to weapons. For Trey Wright's family, the pain is immeasurable. A young life filled with promise has been stolen, and no trial or conviction can bring him back. His loved ones must now endure not only the grief of his loss, but also the public spectacle of a trial that will force them to relive the worst night of their lives. For the families of the accused, there is also anguish. Their children, some barely old enough to drive, are now facing charges that could see them spend decades behind bars. In the aftermath of the arrests, community members in Florence County have been left searching for answers. Schools, churches, and parents alike are grappling with how to prevent tragedies like this from happening again. Many have pointed to the need for stronger conflict resolution education, better communication between parents and teens, and more awareness of the risks posed by firearms in the hands of young people. The case has also sparked conversations about trust and betrayal. Trey believed he was meeting up with his girlfriend, someone he cared for deeply, only to discover that she had allegedly conspired against him. That level of manipulation, carried out by someone so young, is chilling to consider. It raises questions about maturity, morality, and whether these teens truly understood the weight of their actions. As the trials move forward, each of the accused will have their day in court. Some may seek plea deals, while others could take their chances before a jury. The defense teams are likely to argue that not all of the teens were equally responsible, and that some may have been mere bystanders caught in a whirlwind they didn't fully comprehend. Prosecutors, however, are expected to press the argument that under South Carolina's laws, involvement in the setup makes each of them culpable for murder. For the wider public, this story stands as a grim reminder of how fragile young lives can be. In an instant, choices made by teenagers, choices rooted in jealousy, recklessness, and group mentality, ended one life and destroyed many others. Trey Dean Wright should have been looking ahead to his junior year of high school, spending time with friends, and dreaming about the future. Instead, his name is now linked forever to a tragedy that could have been prevented. And 9 other young people, once just kids with their whole lives ahead of them, must now face the reality of the justice system and the consequences of their actions. In the end, the South Carolina love triangle murder is more than just a shocking headline. It is a heartbreaking cautionary tale, one that reminds us all of the dangers of unchecked jealousy, the importance of teaching young people about responsibility, and the devastating consequences that can come from one bad decision. A community is mourning, families are broken, and lives have been changed forever.